How to simplify fractions that has multiplication and division in between. Let's say, for example, we have p squared plus pq all divided by 7p multiplied by 21q all divided by 8p plus 8q. So the very same principle is going to be applied. The first step that we do, we factorize wherever we can. So if we look at the top here, can we factorize? Yes, we can take out a common factor. And then also at the top here, can we factorize? Yes, we can take out a common factor. So now we are going to factorize at the top here. So we're going to say the common factor is p. So we open two brackets. Remember, we're going to say what? P squared divided by p. And that is going to give us p. You move to the second term to say pq divided by p. P will cancel the p. And you will be left with q. So that is what you have there at the top. And then this is divided by 7p. And then this is multiplied with what? With 21q. So now if we look at the denominator, we have a common factor which is 8. So we're going to take out 8 as a common factor. And this is going to be what? 8p divided by 8 is going to be p. And then 8q divided by 8 is going to be what? Is going to be q. So now if we have a multiplication here, what is at top can cancel out with what is at the bottom. So now if we look at the first part here, we can see that p will cancel out with p. But now also if we can move through this multiplication, we have the same thing which is p plus q, which will cancel out with p plus q. So now after you cancel out, what you're going to do is that you're going to say what is at the top, multiply with what is at the top. And then what is at the bottom will multiply with what is at the bottom, because that is multiplication of fractions. So now if everything cancel out, what we left with is just 1. So we're going to say 1 multiplied by 21q. So that is going to be 21q. And then at the bottom we have 7 and 8. So now if you put in your calculator 7 multiplied by 8, that is going to give you 56. So now if we look at this here, is this simplified? We can just put this in our calculator to check if this can be simplified further. So we say 21 divided by 56. And therefore that will be simplified to be what? To be 3 over 8. But now if we look at the top, we still have the q there. So you're going to write the q at the top. So this will be the answer to the problem. Let us look at the next question. Please feel free to pause the video and try the question yourself first. So now let's say we have a squared minus 5a all divided by 2a plus 10. And this is multiplied with 4a all divided by 3a plus 15. So the first step is that we take out a common factor or we factorize wherever we can. So now we can see that at the top we have a common factor which is a. So we're going to take out a as a common factor. And then this is going to simplify to be what? A squared divided by a, that's going to be a. And then negative 5a divided by a will cancel out, and then we're going to be left with negative 5. So now at the bottom here, you also can take out what? A common factor. Because we have 2 as a common factor. So we're going to take out 2 as a common factor. And then this is going to be what? 2a divided by 2. That's going to give us a. And therefore, 10 divided by 2, that is going to give us a positive 5. So now if we move on to the other side, at the top we just have what? We just have 4a. So this cannot do what? Cannot be factorized. But now if we look at the bottom here, we have a common factor which is how much? Which is 3. So we're going to take out 3 as a common factor, and then we're going to say what? 3a divided by 3, that's going to give us a. And therefore 15 divided by 3, and that is going to give us 5. So this will be plus 5 here. So now everything is factorized. So now after we have factorized, we're going to look at what is it that we can cancel out. So now in this case here, we cannot cancel out anything because at the top here, we have a negative and at the bottom, these are positive. So they cannot cancel out. So now what you have to do is that you can see now, this 2 here will cancel out with 1, 2 of the 4. Remember, what is at the bottom will cancel out with everything at the top. So now you're going to say 4 divided by 2, the answer is going to be 2. So we have what? We just have 2a that is left there. So now if there's nothing that we can do, we just multiply these things out. We're going to say what is at the top will multiply with what is at the top, and what is at the bottom will multiply with what is at the bottom. So now what we will have is that a will multiply with 2a, so that is going to be what? It's going to be 2a squared, and then we still have what? A minus 5, because everything else multiplies out. And then now at the bottom here, this part here will multiply with all this part. So we're going to have 3 into a plus 5 all squared. So now that is what we have. So in this case, there's nothing that can cancel out. So therefore, our problem stops here. We cannot do anything. So this will be our answer. We can't cancel out a minus 5 with a plus 5. That is not going to work. Okay, so this is the solution to the problem. Sometimes the solution can be like that. So now let us move on to look at if we have a division sign. So now let's say, for example, we have b squared plus 10b plus 21 all divided by 3 into b squared minus 9 divided by 2b squared plus 14b all divided by 30b squared minus 90b. Okay, so this is still the same thing as if we were having multiplication. But now your first step, if you have a division, you don't do anything. You just change this division sign to multiplication sign. And therefore, you have the normal problem that we have done before where we have multiplication. So now how do we do that? We're just going to leave everything as it is. So we have b squared plus 10b plus 21 all divided by 3 b squared minus 9, and therefore we change the division to multiplication sign. So if you change the division to multiplication sign, what is next to the division sign? At the bottom will come at the top, and at the top will come at the bottom. So that fraction will change to be what? To be 30b squared minus 90b all divided by 2b squared plus 14b. So that is how you change the division to multiplication. You just swap this fraction. What is at the bottom goes at the top, and top at the bottom. And then now you just have a normal two fractions with multiplication in between. So now you follow the same procedure. To factorize these fractions or to simplify them, we must first see or look at where can we factorize. So if we look at the top here, we can factorize because we have a trinomial. Then if we look at the bottom here, we can also factorize because we have a difference of two squares. So now if we look at the top here, we can factorize because we have a common factor, and then also here we have a common factor. So you need to know how to factorize in all types of ways. So now let us factorize here at the top. We're going to say, because this is quadratic, we're going to open two brackets. And then remember, we're going to say, how can we write b squared? We can write b squared by what? By b multiplied by b. And then we're going to look for the factors of the last term. What are the factors of 21? So remember, you're going to say 1 and 21. And therefore, you say now 21 divided by 3. And that is going to give you 18. So you have 3 and 18 as your factors. And therefore, you say 21 divided by 7. And that is going to give you what? I'm sorry, you said 21 divided by 3. That gives you a 7, not 18. I'm sorry about that. 21 divided by 3 gives you a 7. So you have 3 multiplied by 7 as your factors of 21. So now I don't know if we have any other factors, but these are the factors of 27 that we have. So now if we look at our factors, we're going to look at the sign of the last term. The sign is positive. So we're going to look at the factors that when we add them, they give us the middle term, which is 10. So we can clearly see that 3 and 7 will give us what? 10. So we are just going to have 3 and 7. And then the sign of the last term is positive. Therefore, our signs are going to be the same. And then we take the sign of the middle term, which is positive. So that is how we factorize what we had at the top. So now we have to factorize at the bottom. Remember, like I said, at the bottom here, you are having 3 out there. But now what is inside here is a difference of 2 squares. So it's b squared minus 9. So b squared minus 9 is a difference of 2 squares. To factorize difference of 2 squares, you open 2 brackets. And then what you say is the square root of b squared is just going to be b. And the square root of 9 is just going to be 3. And then you repeat that on the other bracket. But now remember, the signs are going to be different. So you have factorized this part here at the bottom. So now you move on to what? To the another part where you have to factorize. So you're going to say this is multiply, and then you have what? At the top, you have a common factor, which is how much? Which is 30, because you have 30 and 90. So the common factor will be how much? Will be 30b. So you have b there and b there. So your common factor is 30b. So now if you take out 30b as a common factor, what you will be left with is going to say 30b squared divided by 30b. That is going to be b. And therefore 90b divided by 30b, that is going to be what? Negative 3. So now you move on to the denominator to say now, in the denominator here, do I have a common factor? Yes, you have a common factor, which is how much? Which is 2b. So now you're going to take out 2b as a common factor, and you say now, 2b squared divided by 2b, that is going to give you b. And therefore 14b divided by 2b, that is going to give us what? That is going to be positive 7, because the b's will cancel out. So now, before you move to multiplication, you see now what is it that can cancel out here, and then what is it that can cancel out here. So now we can see that b plus 3 will cancel out with the b plus 3. And then on this side, the b will cancel out with the b. And then we also say 30 divided by 2, that's going to be 15. So we see now 2 is going to move out here, and then this 30 will cancel out to be 15. Okay, so now we have to cancel with the multiplications now. So now what is at the bottom will cancel out with what is at the top. So now the b minus 3 is at the bottom and the b minus 3 is at the top. They will cancel out. And then now the b plus 7 is at the top and the b plus 7 is at the bottom. They will cancel out. So what we are left with at the top here is just 1, because everything cancel out. And therefore we have 15 here. And then at the bottom we have 1 here because everything cancel out, and we have 3. So now what we're going to say at the top multiply with that, 1 multiplied by 15, and that's going to give us 15. And then you say 3 multiplied by 1, that is going to give us 3. And therefore 15 divided by 3, that is going to be 5. So we get our final answer as 5. So that is how you would do this simplification of fractions with multiplication and division. Thank you very much.